Hello, everybody. Welcome to the XP Billionaires podcast, the podcast of RPGs, characters, toys. No, we don't really do toys, but we do video games and RPG characters. But I guess we kind of do their toys, so I guess that kind of works.
Some games toy with my emotions. Does that count?
You know what? I'm going to say yes, just so I don't have to redo this intro. I am Rayfe, and I am joined by the Melzerker, as you've just heard, and Sky Knight. We have got some fun silliness waiting for you today, but first, we got to say hello to everybody, because, that's just polite, isn't it? So, Sky, how you doing today?
I'm all right. Kind of tired, but I've just been sort of chilling today, and it's been nice.
Yeah. Apart from the heat, everything has been, I guess, all right. I've been working, and we're in Ontario, Canada, and they have just recently started their phases of reopening from the recent lockdown, and people don't quite understand what is and is not open yet. I work in a mall. I work in a store in the mall, so I don't actually work for the mall. And people will call my store that is inside the mall and ask, is the mall open? Because I am the mall, apparently. I feel like there's a missing logic there somewhere, but I don't know, who can say?
Is being classified as a building an upgrade or a downgrade?
Technically, I'm a place that makes profit, so kind of an upgrade, maybe? Possibly?
What about on a personal level? Would you like to upgrade to building or stay as a human?
I wouldn't have to talk to people anymore. So, it's a tough choice. I'd have to think about it.
This from the guy who hosts the podcast.
You guys aren't people. You're my friends. There's a difference. All right, I'm not going to get a response back from that. Hopefully, you guys heard the whole sentence. I didn't just say you're not people, because whatever.
No, we're friends. We're buddies. We're cool. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you hanging.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's just hot. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, clearly you're confused, Mel. But how else are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I, as I am in my 30s, slept wrong, and now am standing in the hopes that I don't hurt my back further. But on the plus side, I got a standing desk like 2 weeks ago, so if it has to happen, at least it happened now.
Fair enough. Now, if it helps, we've got a fantastic chiropractor to recommend you to if necessary.
I've never been to a chiropractor, actually.
You are missing out, and this is coming from somebody who was basically dragged to one for the first time.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, we'll have to connect after the show and save my back.
Yes. You'll learn plenty.
Awesome. All right. So let's get on to this week's topic. We have got a top 3 for you this week. So we have done a top 3 episode a while back, episode 40, if you want to go back and listen to it, where we were talking about unique weapon designs. Now, we're going to do another one kind of like that this time, but we're going to put a little bit of a new twist on it. So this week, we're going to look at the unique weapons that are jokes, parody, or just plain ridiculously funny weapons. We had a lot of fun coming up with our options, and we actually each came up with a lot of varied options. So I'm quite pleased that we didn't get any overlap or anything like that, or have to fight over anything. We had there's plenty of silly weapons out there, and some of them I had actually forgotten about. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with our number 3s like we always do, and like I was saying, this is the one that I had completely forgotten about, which is coming from Sky, who is going first. So let's hear it.
Well, my number 3 is from Suikoden 3, appropriately, because it's 3 and because it's me.
Sorry. Can I also point out, I'm just looking at your list ahead of time from our episode notes. All of your games are the 3rd installment of that series.
Oh my god, they are!
That's a weird coincidence. Huh.
Really weird.
I didn't notice that either.
Oh my god.
Come on, Game 3.
All right. Well, apparently I have a theme.
Yep.
So-
Yep. All right.
I swear, listeners, total coincidence. Anyway, so the weapon of choice here belongs to a character named Mel, appropriately. And it's her puppet, who's called Branky, which is a really weird name, but go off, I guess. Now, her puppet is really strange. It is like this deranged-looking wolf that spits fire. And they're really funny together because she also talks to it like it's alive, and it responds. And you're never quite sure, because this is Suikoden and magic is a thing, if she's a ventriloquist or what. It's never made exactly clear. She also violently slams him into things to punish him. So it's both funny and a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can't believe I had forgotten this one, because this is a really, really good choice. And like it is your stereotypical like cartoon wolf thing from like you might see in Looney Tunes or even Cuphead.
Yeah, like with a big tongue lolling out and stuff. Like,
Yeah, and you just can't confirm whether or not the damn thing's actually alive. And yeah, did she like did she have a unique rune for Branky? Like I can't remember.
I don't remember, but I can Google. I will Google it. And let you all know before the end of the episode.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
put out
Okay.
there that I also debated a puppet for mine, and just because she's Mel, come on. Why does everyone have a puppet? Why is that? I would never fight with a puppet. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's pretty odd, and I mean it's not the only character I know of that fights with a puppet, but it's just because this particular one is so freaking strange. And it's just this huge question mark over this relatively minor character in the story that it's just like, well, okay then.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play Freddy foreshadowing here a little bit, but technically, wouldn't your number one choice also be puppets?
Technically.
Technically, yeah. So, all right, listeners, I have given you some mystic wisdom from Freddy foreshadowing. So look forward to Sky's number one then.
Oh goodness.
I don't know what's wrong with me today, but I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to keep going with it. But it's still not my turn yet. Mel, we got a number three from you. What do you got for us?
So mine is from Final Fantasy X, and this is where I was also like, oh, do I want to use a doll? But I decided instead to go with Wakka's Blitzball, because I think fighting with a Blitzball is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. I actually really love this game, but like he annoys the crap out of me, like front to back. I just do not like him. And what kind of fighter in this like world where all these weapons are available uses a soccer ball? Like there's so many better things to use. And then when it levels up, the higher level versions of it are just like with buzz saws or spikes out of it. And like why would you kick that at the enemy or volleyball it or whatever? You know what I mean? Like it makes zero sense to me, and it seems so dangerous for so little reward.
I mean, I'm still trying to get over the fact that you don't enjoy like tropical bender. That's a huge problem for me, right then and there. But no, I agree. Like the weapon is kind of silly, and I worry about like self harm inflictions with like some of those upgraded versions. Like if he's kicking the ball, or even if he's throwing it, holding it, whatever, in the heat of the moment, you're gonna slip, fall, slice off a finger, a couple toes, like something's gonna happen. You're absolutely right.
Like, there's like rage effects in games. Like, you never know what's gonna happen. I just, in my head, whenever I saw him using it, I just always thought about like him taking the spiked blitz ball and like throwing it in the air and going to kick it like a hacky sack, but it just stabs into his like ankle. And I was just always like, whoa. Like, I could just never do it. Thankfully, I never used them, so it never really mattered, except for those couple areas where you have to use them. And I was like, well, I guess this is the life we live.
Yeah, it's a weird choice of weapon. They did something similar in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but they never did stuff like put spikes on it or anything that I remember. I forget what they called it in that though, but it was like it was a ball that you would throw at people to attack.
Yeah, like, I mean, I can see ways that a ball could be useful, like using it like if it's full of like alchemical stuff or something, but I don't know, if it's a ball, the only thing you could really do is make it harder or make it spikier, right? Like, at some point the designers must have been like, I don't know. Just put a buzzsaw in the middle of it. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna try to dramatically redesign it a bunch of times, then it doesn't seem like an ideal weapon to have. I should also mention that, yes, Mel from Suikoden 3 does have a unique rune called the Devil's Doll rune, which is where the fire attack comes from.
Yeah, I think there's a little more to it than that. Then that makes a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah, it's in fact, actually, hold on. It might actually be on one of her hands. Yes, it is. Probably the hand inside the puppet.
I'm pretty sure it was the right hand, so.
Yes, and it's affixed to the right hand, so.
Yeah. So I think the pieces are starting to come together. I think there's more to that rune than just the attack. So yeah.
One might think.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to my number 3. My number 3 comes from a classic. It comes from Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. And that weapon is Mario himself. No, I don't mean it in the fact that Mario, his kicks, his punches, his fire flower skills. No, I'm not talking that specifically. For those who haven't played this wonderful Super NES game, and you all should, because it is timeless and a treasure, but you actually end up having Bowser as a member of your party pretty, I guess, sort of midpoint around the game. But anyway, eventually, you get a weapon for Bowser called the Hurley Gloves. Now, they're designed to allow you to throw things with incredible force to deal a significant amount of damage. And what does Bowser choose to throw? Well, none other than Mario. He literally goes over to where Mario is standing in the party, grabs him, brings him back over, and tosses him at the enemy. And if you do it just right, just like with the timed hit systems, you can do like super amounts of damage by throwing Mario at the enemy. I feel like this is incredibly cathartic for Bowser at this point. Like, I feel like he believes that Mario is the hardest thing in the world because he is so hard to kill. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Mario games are such a great example because there's so many weird things in them. Like, this is just one weird thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you could look at some of the other characters' weapons as well, like Gino, who is a very, very underused character in the Mario universe because he's only ever been used in this game. He was a puppet brought to life, and his weapon is replaceable hands which shoot pellets.
Is this secretly the puppet episode?
Apparently.
Are we recording the puppet episode? What's the theme happening?
You better have a puppet then, Mel. Like, at this point, like, I think this needs to happen, but no,
Frantically
you don't.
hitting my notes.
No, that is not necessary. That's okay. All right, so we've got our number threes right now. Let us move on to the number two choices for ridiculous, silly weapons. Sky, you're back around. Let's have it.
All right. Now, mine is going to seem probably to most a little less ridiculous than my number three, but work with me here. So, what I have chosen is from Shadow Hearts from the New World, the third game in the series, like Rayfe mentioned. And it's basically just Ricardo's guitars. Now, Ricardo is a mariachi. He's one of the last characters you recruit in the game. And what strikes me as so ridiculous about his weapon, which is a guitar, but it's not just a guitar. It is a guitar with guns in it. The better the weapon, the more guns, the more powerful guns. Including one like there's a shotgun in the neck in one of the early ones, for instance. And it's just so patently ridiculous as someone who has spent their whole life listening to one of their parents talk about guitars that someone could stuff guns inside of a guitar and make it still sound good. It's just not possible. At least not at the level in which Ricardo does it. But, I mean, it's Shadow Hearts from the New World, and literally everything in it is ridiculous. So, it kind of fits. And it's funny. I will say it is funny as hell, because you don't expect it. But, yeah, like, who can take that seriously?
There was an old movie. I want to say mid to late '90s. It was an Antonio Banderas movie. I think it was called Desperado, where I'm pretty sure he had the almost exact same thing. I'd have to double check. It's on Netflix now. I've noticed it. But yeah, I remember I never watched the movie, but I saw the trailer and I'm pretty sure he had the exact same principle as Ricardo, which makes me think that Ricardo might have been based off of it. Um, From the New World was set in America. So I wonder if there was a lot of like American references, American research done when they were developing the game. So it makes me wonder if they just happened across this weird, Western movie with Antonio Banderas and a guitar gun. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly possible.
Yeah,
I also debated one of the weapons that is just like a gun in another weapon. It's just why is it so common?
America,
They just like guns and they'll put it anywhere.
pretty much.
I mean, that's fair. I
I
can't say I
have a
argue with it.
feeling that there are a lot of Americans who will put their gun anywhere.
Like, I mean, there's some logic, like traditionally, like having like a gun that has a sword on the end. Like the gunpowder and the dirt gets onto the blade and makes it more deadly. But like usually it's the other way around. Usually it's like a long blade with like a really small pistol. Like, I don't know. But yeah, and how would the guitar still sound good?
Yeah, it wouldn't. It couldn't. And that's every time I attacked with Ricardo. And I loved Ricardo. Like, he was pretty much always in my party once I got him. And, but yeah, every time he got off one of those attacks, I was just like, oh my God, what? What even is this?
Oh yeah. All right, Mel, what is your number two silly weapon?
I'm laughing thinking about it, which is a good sign. My number two, which should probably be my number one if I wasn't like so in love with the first example. But it's the Ligarius wheel from Bloodborne. So I have not played a ton of this series, but my partner is like addicted to this game series, so I've watched a ton of it. And it's such a dumb weapon. Like, it's one of the only weapons that scales with strength, so people actually use it. Like, you actually see people using this weapon. But it's literally just two giant wheels from a cart, and you just spin them and like hit the enemy with the spinning wheel, and it does damage to you as you use it, which suggests maybe it's like hitting you in the face or like catching your fingers while you're using it. And it's just the dumbest thing, like this like hero fighting this giant monster, and you have this giant wheel from a cart. Like what are you doing?
I have not seen that one. I've seen some Bloodborne get played. I've been meaning to actually play it myself. I just haven't gotten to it.
Like
But
it's got some goofy stuff, but one of the
yeah,
things about Bloodborne that I think makes a lot of the weapons silly is that they have two forms, right? They kind of have like a normal form and a powered up form. So like you have a blade and that's normal, but then you put it into a sheath on your back and the sheath turns into a bigger sword. And it's just everything is like that. Like everything just gets dumber. Like you one of your starting weapons can be it's a cane for fighting with, but then your cane can turn into a whip. Like everything is just something else, and it just means that you have some weapons that are just ridiculous, like fighting with a giant carriage wheel.
you're actually enticing me to play it more now. Just so you know, like
I mean, it's
I
not.
think this is kind of cool.
I didn't mind Bloodborne actually. Like as far as Souls games go, I am much more of a run straight into combat kind of person, which never really worked in the Souls games. But with Bloodborne, if you get hit, as long as you hit them back, you heal. So it actually worked really well for me. Like I actually found it fairly simple to play, considering I mean it's still a Souls game. So I mean it's not easy. But it definitely fits my style of gameplay in a way where I was like, yeah, okay, I can see this.
If you do enjoy that, I still will recommend that you try Code Vein at some point because
Yeah.
I found it was a little better for that. Plus, you have an AI partner who's not terrible.
As rare as that is, eh?
Well, yeah, yeah. No, I was actually pretty impressed with it, and there are some really cool features and a lot of good mechanics built into it. For like, it's the only Souls like I've ever finished. So I like that. That alone tells me it was developed very well, and it probably isn't as hard as the others because I have yet to finish anything else in the style. So
Yeah. Well, for me, like it's less about the difficulty and more about the roguelike quality. Like it's just the repeating stuff over and over that gets to me in these kinds of games. Like I'm just like, I did that. Can I go somewhere new?
yeah, I found I was doing that less and less in this game. So if you ever get to see it on sale or anything like that, give it a shot. I
Oh, I've
really
got it in my
recommend it.
Steam library. It's on my
Oh, perfect,
list, my long
perfect.
list.
Well, if you're ever in the mood for a ridiculous vampire story, that's a good one. All right, so my number two is now up. And for my number two, I couldn't just pick one. So in this case, I have chosen anything used by Joachim Valentine from Shadow Hearts Covenant. So the Valentine family has always been fairly ridiculous in and of themselves. They're a family of vampires. This particular member of the family is probably the quirkiest of them all, I think I would say. He runs around in a butterfly mask as masked hero. He's incredibly burly and strong. And he wields random large objects as two handed bludgeons. So these weapons include and are not limited to things like a giant piece of wood, a locker, yes, the kind of one you would have used in high school, a statue, a giant frozen fish, and I think the final weapon that you had to do a side quest for, I think was like for an experimental mini sub.
Yes, like a miniature submarine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like it's dumb, but it's funny, and like I think this is the moment where Shadow Hearts started to stop taking itself seriously. Like from the New World, it had done that completely at that point. But like I think it was Joachim's conception, his character design, his weapon choices. I think this was the official point where they're like, okay, let's take this series, keep some of the really good elements of the horror and the story into it, but we're going to just make it the most ridiculous game people have ever played. But having that balance was still good. But I think that's one of the reasons why From the New World didn't succeed to the same level that Covenant did. At that point, I feel like they had just gone for the silly more than the serious.
Oh yeah, in a really big way. And yeah, it started in Covenant with Joachim. Like he's by far the most ridiculous character in the story, and he really has not much point. So in the story, like he's just kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got the number twos out of the way. That just leaves the best, the funniest, and the most ridiculous on our lists coming right up. Now, we foreshadowed this first number one, so let's hear what Sky has got for that number one. What do you got? What are your puppet things? You know.
Okay, well, they're only kind of sort of puppets. It's from Persona 3, and it's a specific weapon. It's Akihiko's Jack's gloves. It's my favorite parody weapon ever because it's just so freaking cute. So Akihiko has boxing gloves, right? Because he's a boxer. And with these ones, there's one hand is shaped like Pyro Jack, later properly translated as Jack-o'-lantern, and Jack Frost on the other. And it's adorable. It's got their little faces on his gloves. And it's particularly funny because it's Akihiko. Like, this isn't the sort of shit that Akihiko does, really. But it's fun. And who doesn't love the Jack brothers? I mean, they're a huge icon in the Shin Megami Tensei multiverse. So I love them. I just love them. I do.
Well, yeah, they are so loved that did you know that there is a game about them specifically that was available a very long time ago and was even localized?
About the gloves?
No, about Jack Frost and Jack Lantern. It was a game called Jack Bros, and it was for the barely used, although I did get the opportunity to use it, and I think I might have actually played it, Virtual Boy. Nintendo's first attempt at VR headsets, and it was an absolute failure. But regardless of that, Jack Bros was this kind of puzzle game, if I remember it right. But yeah, it was just one of these weird games that got localized because it didn't really need much story or anything like that. But yeah, they were immortalized on one of the most infamous Nintendo platforms ever invented. And I've always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's funny. They're so iconic at this point. Like,
yeah,
I think games.
Yeah, I feel like they've been there from the beginning. Yeah. But I mean, I haven't played the NES games, so I don't know.
Yeah, I have. I'm playing the Nocturne remaster right now, and it's fun not only because I have already seen both of them, but they also, in that game, they have the Atlas vending machines with Jack Frost on the front of them. Oh, this gives me a smile.
Yeah. All right, Mel, you're number one. It's funny. It's awesome. It is.
It's from Persona 4. So I'm going to be upfront. Part of the reason I love this is because the anime is so good and they make such a good joke of pulling this into focus. But Kanji has a whole bunch of weapons that generally it's like he finds something big and heavy that would probably be better as a shield, but he smacks things hard with it. And this always makes me laugh because it's just a folding chair, like just the kind of folding chair, like he's like some fighter in a terrible like not boxing match, but like a terrible WWE match. And there's a scene in the anime where the main character is buying stuff from the smith in town, and in the background is Kanji, and he's got his hand on his chin. And he's looking at all angles of this folding chair, like, is this and it's just wrecks me. It just wrecks me every single time I see it. The idea that he's spending so much time debating which folding chair is going to be the best for hitting enemies.
You know what? I have to say, having both of us having picked Persona games in our number ones, Persona has great, ridiculous weapons and parody weapons. Like, I mean, there's so many that we couldn't even fit in, like Shinji's stop sign axe.
Right? There's so many good ones. And there's great parody armor too, right? Like they do a good job having like enough jokes. One of my favorite things in 3 is if you buy parody armor for some characters, they'll actually spend their own money to get something better.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I appreciate that you gave me this like bathing suit that's skin tight to go through the dungeon, but I actually found something better. So here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I did not pick a number one from the Persona series, so I am sorry for not adding even more strange themes to this episode. However, this is by far one of the most ridiculous weapons I have ever used in an RPG in my life. And it's from a game I only just recently played. This comes from Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I am talking about a Hitachi. I don't know why I did not expect this from a Yakuza game, but I was surprised. I normally, in the hero job class, Ichiban's weapons are traditionally baseball bats and, other things that might resemble them. In this case, a giant Hitachi vibrator held with two hands that is the size of a baseball bat. And this was an option that I could buy at a local sex shop in the game. Not only that, but it was actually a really, really good weapon to use on, especially in the early game. Now, it was very expensive, but I was really lucky and got a couple of bronze or gold plates. I got a lot of like extra money at random through rummaging underneath the vending machines during my hobo lifestyle. So, but like as soon as I got it, I could not stop laughing. I posted pictures on Twitter and Instagram, and I sent it to friends who thought this would be absolutely hilarious. Like this just gave a whole new meaning to the term "come at me, bro."
Ha ha ha.
I know. I wanted at least a reaction there.
You snuck that one in. You planned that, and then you snuck it in to see.
Oh, obviously. But yeah. So, beating people with vibrators. I mean, I don't think it hasn't been done in video games before, but I did it. Maybe you can too. But on that note, I think that is where we are going to leave off our top 3. We have talked about some of the most ridiculous weapons we have encountered. So now we want to hear what kind of weapons you guys have encountered. So let us know. You can do that through our email at xpbillionaires@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our social media or comment on our episodes too through whatever service you're listening to. You can find me on Twitter at Billionaires XP, or you can find me on Instagram at Rayfe. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at Skynight XP on Twitter, and I don't think I'm ever going to use my Instagram again, so we'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough. All right. And Mel, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Feminist Gamer or Twitter at Feminist Gamer 3, and you can check out D4 Adventures, where I play the delightful Ezra Rose, who collects rocks, on Wednesdays on Twitch.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out, everybody. And as always, our website, xpbillionaires.ca, is your one-stop shop for everything XP Billionaires, from written works, episode summaries, the whole nine. It's all available there. Please check it out, xpbillionaires.ca. All right, so that is going to be it for us this week. And just remember, if the weapon is both funny and good, you get to keep gaming with a smile. So I hope you get that opportunity, but we'll see you next week.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.